What's up guys, I'm Loki here, welcome back to the channel. My last storytime video got about 45 views and you guys really seem to enjoy that one, so today I'm going to be doing another storytime video. Today I'm going to be telling a story about the time that I almost died. So about a year ago I was going to the same camp that I went to for the last storytime video, and when we went to that camp we had to set up our rooms and everything just like I said in the last video. And once we set up our rooms and we got all of our stuff unpacked, we would usually do stuff like go cooking, camping, hiking, stuff like that. And this day we decided to go hiking. So where the camp was located, it was in the middle of a bunch of camping grounds, so there was a bunch of attractions to go see, like a hiking site, stuff like that. And there was this one place where there was a bunch of rock carvings, and it was kind of like high up, and you would jump across the rocks, and if you fell, it was kind of like crevices in between. So the camp counselor was like telling everybody, if you're not sure you can jump across, just don't try and jump, just take in the sight and relax for a little bit. But I was with the same group of people that I was with in my last camping video, so we decided we were just going to jump across. And so we were jumping across, and we jumped down into the crevice, and we just sat there for a little bit because there's no camp counselors or no other people around, and we just sat there and chilled for a little bit talking. And at that time, there was one camp counselor that we've always had that we all liked, but then they had two more camp counselors that they added at this camp session. So the two camp counselors, no one really liked. They were just kind of annoying, and they would think they're the boss. They'd tell you everything to do. They were just very strict when our one camp counselor was very chill. So no one really liked them, and they were standing at the top of the crevice, making sure everyone is in sight, which I understand. They were making sure everyone's safe, but we were down in the crevice, we were just hanging out. And I remember hearing the camp counselors yelling at everybody, telling them, they can't go down there, you can't go over here. So we were kind of just trying to hide away from the group so that way they didn't see us, so we could hang out. And also I forgot to mention that this story takes place after the first story that I explained on the channel, so that one dude that fell out the window actually wasn't in this group at the time. It was just the rest of the people. So we was all down there, and one of the guys wandered off to go do something. Then he came back a few minutes later and he's like, guys, there's a problem. And we were like, oh, okay, what's the problem? He's like, come here. So we went all the way around the crevice, we went back up these rocks, and we jumped across, we went back to where the whole camp was. And it started getting very dark and windy, and it started getting very cold, and we was in jeans and like t-shirts and stuff, it was like hot weather, and the tree started swaying very hard, and the sky was getting dark, and nobody knew why, because it was only 1 or 2 p.m. So we were like, okay, it's nothing to worry about, and let's just go back down to where we were. So we started wandering off back to where we were, and the camp counselors yelled at us and told us not to go anywhere, and we were confused, and one of my friends even got mad. He's like, why can't we go? Like, we ain't doing nothing wrong. And then she's like, stay here for just a minute. So everyone was just standing there, bored, because we were waiting to go back down to where we were hanging out. And after a few minutes, we were like, screw it, we're just going to go back anyway, because the camp counselor was just walking around. It was just us, and we were like, screw it. So we went back down there, and then it started getting more cold. It was starting to be freezing cold. So we went back up, and then everyone standing there, and the camp counselor started yelling at us, telling us, why did we wander off, stuff like this. And we were like, we're sorry you guys left. We thought it was fine because everyone else was wandering off. So we all met back up in a group, and the camp counselor told us that it was getting ready to storm. So we kind of expected it was going to storm because, it was getting windy and all that. But we didn't think it was actually going to rain because it was supposed to be nice out for the whole week. So we just kind of sat there for a minute, then it started raining, but not very hard. It was just light rain. And the camp counselor, we were all looking around like, should we leave or should we stay? Because we're in the middle of a rock crevice, and if it got all slippery, it'd be hard to jump across. But it wasn't raining that hard. So we decided we were going to stay for a minute, and then, we all went back to what we were doing. Then it started pouring down rain hard. So the camp counselor told us to stay where we were, then we're all going to meet back up and walk through the woods together back up to the cabin. So we were all standing in a group, all of our friends was in one group, and then the rest was in the other. And the camp counselor was like, all right, we got to head back now. But first we got to wait for the other people because there were still people down in the crevices. So we sat there for a minute waiting, and then eventually lightning started hitting the trees, and, started thundering really hard. So we all looked around like, what should we do? Because we're not waiting for these two idiots that are down in this crevice. We want to go back. It's the middle of a thunderstorm, middle of the woods. It's freezing cold. We don't want to stay here. So we all looked around, and then everybody got scared because it started thundering, like I said. So we all just took off running in different directions, which it sounded like a dumb idea, but we were just all freaked out. So me and my group of friends, we all ran back in one direction towards the camp. Then the rest ran this other way, and I was behind this one big kid. He was like 6'4". He was big and fat, dude. I was running behind him, and he was running in front of me, and lightning hit this tree, and this tree fell over in front of this kid as he was running. And he ran and dove over it and landed in the mud and got back up and kept running. So since I was running behind this kid, I made sure to jump over the tree and not miss. So then I took off running. Then we kind of slowed down because we were out of breath and we were kind of like in a spot where the rain wasn't pouring down that hard. So we just started walking back, and then the camp counselors started catching up because the two camp counselors are young. They're about like 20 to 30. So they were able to run and catch up to us. And then the other camp counselor, was older. She was like 40. So they caught up with us, and then they brought us to this like little abandoned cabin because they used those for the summertime, and it was like around the spring. And nobody was in there, so we stood at this abandoned cabin and waited because we were waiting for the other two people that were in the crevices. So it was my whole group of friends and the two camp counselors. We were all standing under this cabin, and we were waiting for the rest of the group because, they were still stuck in the crevices, and the rest of the group was running around, so they're trying to find everybody and gather them back up. So eventually they found everybody, and we gathered back up at this abandoned cabin, and the camp counselor wouldn't let us go back to our main cabin. So we asked her, and she said it's because a little kid is missing. And at this camp, there was a bunch of different groups. There was a group of little kids and a group of people about 9 to probably 13. And there was a bunch of different groups of different age ranges like that. So we were about the oldest group there, and we were waiting because they were looking for this little kid who was about 7 who was lost. He ran off by himself. So we had to stay at this cabin for about 10 to 20 minutes, and eventually they found this kid. I'm not sure where they found him, but they found him. So we were able to go back to our main cabin. Now, once we got back to the main cabin, we have one men's restroom and one women's restroom, and we only have one shower each, so we had to take turns going in the shower because we were all soaked. So we were all pretty much chilling in our room or in the living room because, we were waiting, just taking turns in the shower. So eventually I was able to get my shower. I changed, I got ready, and we all just hung out in the living room for a little bit, and then we cooked and made something to eat, and then we all went to bed. I'm pretty sure this camp session was after the camp session of the kid that fell out the window, so we would just sit there and talk about old stories from our last camp and stuff like that. And eventually I just fell asleep. So that was my second camp story. I still have lots of camp stories to tell if you guys want to hear more, so let me know by leaving a like on this video. But that's going to be it for this story. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.